Tonight on the Deep End, from social media to academic challenges and isolation during the COVID-19 pandemic, children and teenagers face unique pressures unlike previous generations, and is causing a mental health crisis. Molly Shin joining us tonight. Molly, you wanted to know what type of mental health education is being offered in Washington schools.
Preston, that's right. I reached out to the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction to see what's required when it comes to mental health education in schools in our state. And I talked to a teacher on the front lines. The students who walk in your door, what's different about them today than when you started?
Oh, all kinds of things. Sometimes it's harder for kids coming in with everything they need to be ready to work. Their supplies, their mindset, homework that they might need, all kinds of things.
That's a lot of challenges.
It is.
And what about in terms of mental health?
I think that those things really go hand in hand. Are we seeing kids that are having a hard time being ready for school because they have some mental health stuff going on, or the inverse of that? Mental health stuff, most definitely. We have families who've had huge losses on a much larger scale than what we used to see. We used to see in the course of a school year there might be one or two kids who had had a parent die, and now we have, last year I had a class with 3 kids in it who had lost a parent in that recent amount of time.
Tell me just what your sense is of what type of resources are out there for teachers. If there's a teacher who says, I want to provide good mental health education, how do you start?
So there's a lot of materials out there, but some of it's just kind of hodgepodge. So I do see a need for something that teachers can find it and say, here's how this works.
Is mental health a regular part of the curriculum? Is it something that's mandated? Is it something that you work to incorporate yourself?
All of the above. So Washington State health standards do require that a certain amount of that be discussed. There are specific things. And I do it as a unit, but more important for me is I try to integrate it into everything I do. And I don't mean that I'm constantly analyzing or anything like that, but our mental health isn't just knowing, say, what are mental illnesses. It's learning about your own emotions and learning about how you feel, and it's about learning how to regulate your own emotions. And you can't really do that in a lesson. It has to be something that happens on a regular basis.
Maybe we're reducing the stigma around talking about mental health, around admitting I have some anxiety?
Yeah, I think we are.
So many kids dealing with so many things in those classrooms, so many people there to help. We're making headway, clearly, Molly, but there's a long way to go. You mentioned reaching out to OSPI to find out more about what's required when it comes to mental health education. What did you learn?
Well, Preston, there is nothing like, say, a graduation requirement when it comes to mental health literacy. But mental health is included in our state's learning standards. And one of the core ideas, as the state calls them, in those standards is wellness, safety, social, emotional health. And so, Preston, that basically just tells me that all students should get some level of exposure to mental health education, but it can vary dramatically from district to district and then from classroom to classroom.
Yeah, no doubt. So a lot of kids likely getting minimal exposure to mental health education. Is there a push to change that?
You know, there is. There's something happening right now. One way is through this new ask in the OSPI budget that'll go through a committee at the legislature. They would like some money to hire a full-time employee whose job it would be to help districts across the state implement a mental health curriculum. Now, that is just a single person, but it's one more than we have right now.
Molly, so eye-opening and so much work left to do. Thanks.